controversial, but tipping culture in America has absolutely gotten out of control.
Tipping culture in the US has gotten so bad that some workers are literally starting to force you to tip them.
Your baseline, but now they want 25%.
Americans hate tipping culture.
Controversial, but tipping culture in America has absolutely gotten out of control. Hear me out. If I sit down at a restaurant, I tip. If you do my hair, my nails, if you're providing me a service, I tip. But like everywhere is asking for tips anymore. I went to Tropical Smoothie today. Screen flipped around, they asked me for a tip. Same with Starbucks. Hand her my card through the drive-thru and she says, "Do you want to add a tip to this card today?" Tip for what? Put you in a super awkward situation. Also not what tipping is supposed to be. There was a time that tipping was not an obligation. Tipping is a word for good service, not the bare minimum. Honestly, people get mad at customers for not tipping. If I go out to eat, I'm paying for the food. Shouldn't be my job to subsidize payroll. If your job doesn't pay you enough, that's on your employer, not the customer trying to buy a Jimmy John's sandwich, okay? If I'm getting up to refill my own drink, what am I tipping you for? People will side-eye you, straight up get mad if you don't tip, even if all they did was hand you a bag. If tipping is expected, it's not a tip. It's literally a hidden fee. For a majority of places, your paycheck is your employer's responsibility, not mine. Bye.
Tipping culture in the US has gotten so bad that some workers are literally starting to force you to tip them. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. Like, this is absolutely crazy. So this person was like at a fast food restaurant or something, and then it was time for them to pay, but before they paid, a little prompt came up pretty much, asking if they wanted to tip or not. Every single option popped up besides the no tipping option, because as you can see right here, the no tipping option was blocked off because this worker put stickers on it. So this person was literally forced to tip them. Now, I'm no genius or anything, but I feel like this is definitely not legal at all. Like, blocking the no tip option like it says up at the top is just next level and ridiculous. If I was in this situation, I do not care. I'm ripping off these stickers and I am leaving no tip. Maybe I'm just overreacting or something, but putting a sticker over the no tip option would literally make me not want to tip even more. But I'm definitely really curious to know your thoughts about all this, and I feel like this worker could definitely get fired for doing this.
One thing that we really appreciated at the restaurant yesterday is that we weren't sure about the tip, because we know that obviously in the US it's really common to leave a tip, and you have to leave it pretty much everywhere. And we saw on our bill that there was the service charge and the taxes, and the service charge was like 20%, so we weren't sure whether that counted as tip or not. So we thought that we would just ask the waiter. So we went to the waiter to pay, and we didn't even have the time to ask, and he said, "Look, by the way, service charge is the tip. It's the same thing. It's very common here to leave the 20% service charge instead of leaving the tip with cash. So just be mindful, like every time that you go to a restaurant, because they are going to try to ask you for an extra tip, but the service charge is exactly the same, like it goes to, to all the stuff." So he was really, really honest, and we really appreciated it, because we were just about to ask, and he could have just said, "Oh, by the way, you have to leave an extra tip," because we were tourists. Yes, one thing to know that I wanted to share with you in case you're coming here in Miami.
I feel called to share this message, so I'll just say it here. Please tip your garbage disposal men and women when it comes around the springtime for cleaning, because they are actually some of the most underappreciated, undercomplimented, essential, foundational people doing the foundational work in our society. So immediately after my spiritual awakening, one of the most immediate changes in my behavior was I had this impulse to just pick up trash from the streets like this. When I was out on a walk, I would feel compelled, like my body would physically crave to pick up trash. And what I realized then was that all of the junk we see in our public spaces, we see in our private spaces, our homes, are actually physical representations of the old beliefs, the traumas, the limitations that we've accepted as being part of society, though they're not inherently human nature in my belief and knowing. So I began to see that all of the old cans, beer cans, cigarette butts, lottery tickets, candy wrappers on the street were actually cries for love and recognition and safety and a need to be embraced that were not fulfilled. And they were substituting that with these sorts of things these sorts of coping mechanisms that are not healthy for you and destroying not only your spirit, your soul, your body, but also your environment. So I want to just share this insight that you deserve a beautiful living space. And I knew that one of the biggest reactions of just people seeing me dressed in like really expensive, nice outfits when I'm out in like central London, I would still pick up potato chip bags from the street. And it didn't make me embarrassed at all. It made me proud because I realized that by cleaning up the trash in my surroundings, I wasn't trying to do some charity or make myself seem like a good person. I was affirming the knowing that I deserve to live in a beautiful, clean world. And humanity deserves to live in a beautiful, clean world. So every time I walked past a piece of trash, it was like affirming to myself and my reality that this thing is tolerable and that's just how it is, when in reality it isn't. So consider how you can love and respect yourself and the world more by keeping a clean and beautiful space. And also tip the people who help you do that if you feel inclined to do so. Because love shared with money will always bring internal fruit.
Americans hate tipping culture, but the question is, what happens if you don't leave a tip? Now, if you're not sure what tipping culture is, I have a whole video about it that you can go watch that explains all about tipping culture. But what happens if you don't leave a tip? Is there a police officer in every restaurant looking at the receipt, about to arrest you if you don't tip? No, that doesn't happen, but there are a few different things that could happen if you don't tip. But first, I want to say that a lot of places now are automatically adding a tip. So you don't even have the chance to choose whether or not you're going to tip or how much you're going to tip. A lot of the restaurants will just say 18% tip added automatically. But if you do have the choice of tipping and you don't tip, wow. Okay, first, people are going to really look down on you. They're going to think you are a terrible, disgusting person who doesn't have respect for other people. So much so that if I didn't tip and my friend saw it, they would probably say, hey, what are you doing? Why didn't you leave a tip? Add a tip right now. If you're going on a date with someone, this is actually something we pay attention to because we think it shows the type of person you are. If you leave a really low tip, then you might not get a second date because we think that you are a disrespectful person and you don't care about other people and you're stingy with your money. But if you leave a really high tip, we think, oh, okay, this person is kind, they're generous, they care about other people. It doesn't mean this person has a lot of money or doesn't have a lot of money. It means how caring are they? How generous are they? How respectful are they? So if you don't tip, people in your life and people around you in the restaurant are going to look down on you. But also, if you don't tip, a waiter might stop you and ask you directly to add the tip, which would be a really awkward conversation. And this actually happened to me. I was eating hot pot in America with my friends. The waiter brought us the bill and at the bottom it said 18% tip added automatically. Okay, so the 18% tip was included in the cost of the food. That means I don't have to add a second tip. I already paid my tip. So I paid the full amount and I started to walk out of the restaurant. The waiter ran after me and said, hey, you didn't tip. It felt so uncomfortable. I was also so confused because I did tip. There was an 18% tip added automatically. And he said, no, you have to tip in addition to that. Now keep in mind, I was eating hot pot, which means I got my own food and I cooked my own food. I was speechless. But when I tell you that was one of the most awkward social situations I have ever been in, because I paid my tip, but everyone in that restaurant watched the waiter run after me and say, you didn't pay your tip, you didn't pay your tip. So everyone in that restaurant thought I was a terrible person. But I paid my tip.
Here, let me get you some cash for the tip. Oh no, it's fine. I'm not gonna be tipping. What do you mean we're not gonna be tipping her? Was something wrong? No, honestly, everything was great. I just don't believe in tipping anybody. Actually, tipping culture in America is absolutely insane. I'm not tipping you for my freaking latte. You do realize that, servers and bartenders, they don't make minimum wage. They do, work for tips, right? Okay, that's literally not my problem or your problem to pay their bills. So every time we've been going to a restaurant and you pay, you just haven't been tipping? Yes, I have not been tipping one time since we've been going out. It's not my job as the customer of a restaurant to pay the employee a livable wage. Okay, it is the employer's job to pay the employee a livable wage. Does that make sense? So you understand? We've been dating for months. We've gone to numerous restaurants. We've gone to fine dining restaurants. Our bill once was over $400 and you didn't tip her? In my defense, I don't even know what 20% of 400 is, and why would I tip her more than that? That is absolutely insane. I would never tip on top of even $5. Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to rethink some things because we clearly have very different viewpoints on how to treat service industry workers and bartenders, wait staff, different things like that. Yes, so I'll call you. Well, if you want to start paying everyone's freaking rent, you need to start paying for our meals. Yeah, well, I doubt that there is going to be any more date nights, honestly, so.
You can see all the three options for tipping. 20% used to be the high end, 18% was okay service, and 15% was just, your baseline. But now they want 25%, which...
If you guys thought that was bad, look at this shit. 30% on the low end, mid-range 40% tip, and then 50% tip. These people are trying to charge us an extra half of the original price as tip.
I genuinely want to know, because when I lived in London back in 20 plus years ago, 2005, tipping was considered ick. It would be like, don't offend me by tipping me at the pub. Don't offend me. No, it was like a sure sign that you were an American if you were tipping at a bar or a restaurant. Is that still the same? Is it still Americans tipping because they think that the establishment doesn't pay their workers? Is that still a thing, or is the rest of the world taking tips now? Or is it still just Americans?